Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sharmit podcast. Today, I'm here with another special guest, Anil Pilania, who is joining us from India itself. If I talk about Anil, then he is the founder of MIDCAI and has an incredible journey of more than 2 decades in the technology industry. Over the years, he has worn multiple hats from developer, consultant, leader, and now as an entrepreneur shaping the future of data and Salesforce ecosystem. So, today in this episode, we will dive into Anil's inspiring journey beyond titles and roles, and we will talk about his philosophy as well. But before we proceed further with this session, I would like to thank Anil for joining us today in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us a bit about yourself.
First of all, thank you, Amit, for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure to share what I have experienced and learned and probably observed during my almost 2 decades in the industry now. So extremely happy to be here. About me, pretty simple. Computer engineer by education. Started as a developer, my career. Then went to London for my post graduation. Came back to India. Started as an infrastructure consultant back in the day, and then late 2017, 2018, moved to my hometown after spending good 12, 13 years in Bangalore to Jaipur and started my application slash software consulting journey with Salesforce platform. So that's pretty much it on the professional front. On the personal front, father of 2 kids, live with my parents, and small family, happy family, and there is no greater sense of fulfillment than living in your hometown and to be able to be in this industry. So yeah, life has been good so far.
Okay. Yeah, and we can also see throughout your journey, like you have explored all possible roles and different exposure you have because you have done more than I think 2 decades now almost in the tech industry where you worked as a developer, consultant, leader, and now as a founder also. But my question is, Anil, like if you had to describe your journey beyond titles and beyond those LinkedIn profiles, so how would you describe the person Anil Pilania?
I think that's an incredibly hard one. Probably I like to put it in two, threefold maybe. So on the human grounds, very simple human being, very passionate about anything and everything that I like to do. I follow the philosophy of that if you do something and after doing it, you don't feel that it is the best that you could have done, that means you have not done the best. So that's something I followed in my education, in my previous jobs, and now even at MIDCAI. Whatever I do, I like to do it to the best of my abilities. Is one side of Anil that I deploy into anything and everything. It's not just work. Even if I'm making a coffee, or even if I'm playing cricket, or be with friends out, I like to follow that philosophy. So that's one side of me. The other one is I'm very curious and creative person in general. So much so that I can go to any lengths
Mhm.
to satisfy my curiosity. Um, and I don't stop until I fully satisfy my curiosity and creativity. So you'll see a creative side of me again into anything and everything that I do. I've come across this phenomena from a lot of people who say that they find their work, anything that they do, monotonous after a while.
Okay.
Um, but I don't. whenever I feel like I'm doing it the second time, somehow internally something tells me that, if you are the smart soul that you think you are, try to do it better than the last time. And then if I'm doing it the third time, try to better it, the last time. So for me, this concept of monotonous doesn't exist in my life. And I think I thank my curiosity and creativity side of me for that. The third thing is, I've been the first engineer in my family. My dad wanted me to be a doctor, but I liked computer, I liked math, so I ended up doing engineering. And I'm telling you this is because I don't think I followed many decisions my father intended me to follow.
Okay.
So that's my different side of personality that once I set my mind to something, I try to take that route, even if that means that I somehow have to convince my parents, family, and friends. I am happy to go to that length to just do what I set my mind to. So, long answer short, this is how I would probably define myself in a three-dimensional prism, so to speak. Outside of anything and everything that I do.
Okay. So just don't get surprised, like even after this podcast, if you got multiple requests for a cricket invitation or maybe the coffee request, because now your team know about your other patients as well. I'm sure like you are open with your team, but yeah, for sure they're
Yeah,
going to request and they are going to
I
request.
I I play cricket every Sunday morning still.
Okay.
And I do make coffee for my MIDCAI team almost every day whenever I get a chance. So most welcome.
All right. So moving ahead, like as we talked about the MIDCAI and MIDCAI team, so it's better to know more about this organization. So just help us to visualize that day when you decided that yes, this is the time to build the own company that is MIDCAI. So just walk us through that scene, like where were you at that time, and what were you doing, and what was your mindset at that time when you decided to start the MIDCAI?
Um, I think that's another hard one. I had never planned for it to be like that, so to speak. I had this itch from a long time to try my hands at building my own business, because I always felt that that is one experience that's missing from my life and my career in general. And I don't want to die not having experienced something that I wanted to experience. So it has been in back of my mind from quite some time. But as I come from a humble middle class family, it's never easy. Sometimes you need to not only muster a lot of courage, but take various dynamics and situation into consideration. And if you look at my career, I have made very bold choices. When I was a very successful programmer, I left it and went to London to pursue post graduation, because I was curious to know and learn, how academics are approached in outside India. So that curiosity got the better of me. So I left everything and went to London. And after that, when I came back, I started with infrastructure consulting domain. I did not know much, and I was like, "Wow, consulting, infrastructure consulting." So I just went with it. And then when the home calling happened, I left my 13, 14 years of infrastructure consulting experience and really good job and title and whatnot, and moved to my hometown, and picked up something, that was not comparable in any way. And started with software consulting, totally opposite. So I always been, um, a person who has followed his intuitions from time to time and have risked it all. So MIDCAI idea also, part result of following that in intuitions. My kids are growing up fast, and I thought that once they get into high school, probably I'll have a lot more strings attached to me than I have now. So I felt that this was the last window of opportunity to, follow this, and add this experience to my life and career. Um, so, that thought came, and like I said before, once I put my mind to something, I just follow through it, and that's how this did me. I was doing pretty well in my previous job, and it was a fantastic job, fantastic company, fantastic people, and the job before. I had like no complaints. When people ask me why did you leave, I usually don't have an answer, because there was nothing wrong there. It was fantastic. But specifically for Midkai is like, that edge, that intuition, to follow this and add to the portfolio was the major driver.
Okay. So we can also see through your journey that you have worked with at giants, tech giants like HP, Accenture, and Appirio. So what do you think? Like, what one thing from those experience you carry forward into Midkai, or maybe one thing that you decided that this is something that should not be repeated in your organization or under your leadership. So did you find any such kind of instances when you are working with these tech giants?
Absolutely, 100%. I think, this is again, one of the examples where most um, professionals usually suggest that you start small in small setups and
Right.
learn a lot, and then probably get into bigger setups. Mine story has been opposite. Like, I have started with like really big setups, and then smaller, and then the smallest. So that gives me a lot of perspective, um, starting with large setups. And I think a good analogy that I can draw, probably to explain it better, is engineering, right?
Okay.
A lot of people ask, which engineering you have done, which degree, and what have you learned. And don't be surprised when people say that one or two things that they have learned, and most people will say that whatever they have learned, they are probably not going to use it, in
Mhm.
their life ever, and they wonder why did they study those subjects if they're not going to use it.
Yeah.
So I think, the the engineering, is not about learning physics, learning chemistry, and other things, and then using in your professional life. To me, engineering teaches you a lot of stuff, like working in groups, working under pressure, figuring out things in high pressure scenarios, finding your way through something that you're not good at, or something that you can't process, surviving, managing your expenses in a limited budget, and yet enjoying the life. Finding out ways to learn from others, or probably, learn speaking English, or, presenting yourself. There's like so many things. So when people ask me, hey, Anil, what have you learned in engineering? I always mention these non-academic things as the best learning of my engineering, right? So with that analogy, something similar that I have learned at these tech giants, like how to work in larger groups,
Okay.
how to work with multiple teams, how to collaborate and coordinate with groups who like to operate in silos, how to influence upwards, how to motivate and lead downwards, um, how to manage, scale, things like that. So I think that experience a lot of time is hard
Mhm.
to accumulate when you start with small setups and other things. But when you start with large setups, you pick these things quickly. And me being a curious soul, I think I picked those up nicely.
Okay.
So I think those are the things that will help me build MidCai down the line. When it comes to coordinating with bigger teams, managing a scale, managing competing priorities, and things like that is is where it is going to help. The second thing it helps is it gives you a really good network.
Yes,
Like
right.
you get to build a really good and broad network because there are just so many people that you interact with, work with. I think that is another thing people should invest their time and energy into. So that's something would come in handy as well. And then in general, the world exposure. I had to travel a lot. I had to meet so many clients, processes, how to manage things at scale. So all those things, I think are going to come in really handy when we build MidCai organically.
Okay. So yeah, I think this is the best answer not only for the professional but for the engineering students also, because this is a common question from the student. Like whenever I also interact with the students in colleges and workshops, so they always ask like why we are learning about these electrical related subjects and different physics, chemistry, and all other subjects. So this answer like will resonate with all those students that why it is so important to at least go through that process, because after 4 years you will learn, like you will realize it later that what you have learned from that those days, from those college days, not only about the subjects
Yeah,
but other things also.
absolutely. I think most of the students leave their homes for the first time when they get into engineering.
Right.
Before that, very few would have, had a experience of how to deal with outside world on
Right.
their own and within tremendous constraints. So I think, what programs like engineering, medical, and other, outside home, they they kind of really transition you from a 12th grade student living with parents in their hometown, around their relatives, into a completely new territory, on his or her own, and now suddenly figuring out, almost everything. I think those life skills, those human skills, are far more valuable than trying to operate a lathe machine, probably, which you can learn, even after engineering in
Right.
few days or taking a course. But learning all these skills, like how to interact with students from different states, how to make friends, how to fulfill your promises, how to manage priorities, timelines. I think that's a fantabulous experience that engineers go through in those 4 years.
All right, so moving ahead, I let's talk a bit about the mindset, because I noticed that usually founders and leader often change the speed when they are into the business. But in I noticed in some of your posts also that you talk about the speed without being reckless. So how do you balance the pressure to grow fast versus the intention to build the right? Because at the time, like you have to build something and you are also focused on the speed without being reckless. So how you are managing these two terms?
Um, I mean, I think you have to choose one at a given point in time. Um, if you want to, chase speed, you have to be reckless in some form, right? People uh, give these things usually a very fancy name, saying, we are hustling for the speed, or you know, our vision is to grow exponentially,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe investors are pushing them, or they have to prove a point, whatever could be the reason. They give it a very interesting name, um, for being reckless,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes even I have heard people say that fail fast. Yeah, how do you fail fast if without being reckless?
Mm-hmm.
um, and the counterintuitive examples of growing organically also exist, right? Is there a tech that can make a tree grow in one third of the time that it naturally does?
Right.
Probably not. Is there a tech that can help a kid grow in one third of the time, or would there be tech? Probably not. So there are things that are meant to grow, organically, no matter what you do. Now there are few things that you can do here and there to influence and do that. So recklessness, in other words, or speed, in other words, comes at the cost of something, right? So we often focus on the results. We don't focus on the cost being paid to get those results at a faster pace, right? For me, MIDCAI is about growing it organically.
Okay.
We have been in this industry for long enough. We are a bootstrapped company. We want to be keep it that way. We are not in rush, because we are not here to prove anyone that we can do this. And
Mm-hmm.
if we can do our jobs really well for 2 decades, that means we know how to do our work. We want to enjoy the experience, and if this experience offers opportunity to grow exponentially, we will always evolve at what cost.
Okay.
Now, if it is gonna cost us that we value dearly, probably we wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But if it would cost something that we don't value dearly at MIDCAI, then probably we'll go after that speed. But I think we are more about growing organically, first approach, and growing exponentially when the cost that it would demand for um, is something affordable for us. So I think that's how we are going to not
Manage.
really balance it per se, prioritize it. I think prioritization could be a better lens to look at it.
Okay. Okay, another question, like in IT industry, like whenever we talk about technologies like data cloud, MarTech, Agentforce, Salesforce, and any other technology also. So these all sounds very tech heavy, right? But you talk about the empathy in execution. So how do you bring the empathy into something that is completely technical, such as Salesforce ecosystem? So how you bring that empathy mindset into the work?
Very hard to do, honestly. I think even
Okay.
even in our personal life, bringing empathy is hard,
Mm-hmm.
and so makes it even harder in our professional lives. And for that, people must first understand what does it really mean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can give you a few examples. Let's just say one of your friend calls and say, "Hey, my car has broken down in the middle of the night, and I don't see anyone around. What do I do?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you had a long day yourself, very difficult day, and you have a hard call to make. Either you try to go out and help, or you call somebody who is nearby or some assistants who is nearby who can reach to them, or you may have your own friend who probably can reach there faster. So you go through this multiple, what if scenarios. And by the way, none of them are right or wrong. It's just that multiple scenarios you go. Um, but before you start running those scenarios, what if you ask him, how is he?
Mhm.
Is he feeling scared? Is it like too dark? You know, can you ask him to, save himself somehow? Leave the car as is, go to a nearby shop or somewhere. Things like that. Like, have you spent 60 seconds just to find out what he is going through versus focusing on the problem of a broken car, right? Those
Right.
are two different things. And it's our human nature that we focus on problem and how to solve the problem.
Mhm.
We don't focus on what that person is going in the moment. By the way, the broken car or a flat tire, you can still run that car at the risk of damaging your car, but you can risk it until you reach to a safe point, right? That is
Right.
also an option.
Correct.
So by empathy, I think in business, what we try to do is try to understand, what's what that person is going through.
Mhm.
You may have heard this term enough, that put yourself in somebody's shoes.
Right.
And in my team, we are having this conversation earlier this week, and we concluded that you can't.
Okay.
There is no way you can put yourself in someone's shoes. Like, humans, we concluded, and we could be entirely wrong, but we concluded that it is almost impossible for one human to put himself herself in someone's shoes and you know figure out what he or she is going through, right? So
Right.
I think that's fundamentally wrong, is how we concluded it.
Mhm.
We'll continue to debate it and see where it lands. So empathy for us is not about we trying to put ourselves in their shoes. Empathy for us is about, like, why something is important to that person in that moment,
Mhm.
and try to get to the primary reason of concern. So, for example, sometimes client yell at you not because things are wrong. It's because probably they are fearful of their losing their own job if this blows out of proportion, right?
Right.
Sometimes someone is being irrational. It's not because he or she is not able to understand what you are saying. It's because probably they have pitched something to someone that they need to justify or whatever. So for us, empathy is try to understand the position with which your customers or your team members are approaching you first. um, you would never know for sure, but make an effort
Okay.
before getting into problem solving mindset. So it's just that one additional 60 seconds that you take uh, before getting into solving problem mindset is probably we are trying to deploy it in our everyday work.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the network of support, because what I believe, like, success is rarely a solo journey. Maybe it is like someone has different mindset on this also. That is fine. But for you, like, who are the people that you think that stood by you or guided you along the way, maybe from your family, friends, colleagues, or anyone from your journey?
I would say almost everybody that I have come across. So
Hmm.
I call myself very lucky in that sense that whenever I have looked up to someone for something, I hardly remember anyone saying no or not helping.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really happen overnight. I think you have to invest into your relationships, your
Yeah.
friendships, and when people get to know you, then eventually um, they respond. So I believe that fundamentally human beings are not bad.
Mhm.
In general, all human beings are bad. It's the situation that they are in, or it's the context with which they are approaching your conversation or the moment that you are in. Makes you think of them as bad or good, because perception and context plays enormous role in that sense. So I think I have been lucky, extremely supportive family, parents, wife, kids, younger brother. So they have always supported me, even though I made decisions which were not exactly what they wanted me for.
Okay.
But once the decision was made, they put their full weight behind it. I was lucky enough to find good friends in a school, quite a few of them, because one of my professor at London University said that, Anil, you become an average of five people you spend your most time with, right? So during my professional life, again, I so initially when I said that I'm very intuitive and curious, one thing that attracts me towards people is if they have something to offer that I don't know much about, or I don't really have that skill. So, for example, I studied in a Hindi medium school.
Okay.
So if someone who was speaking good English, became, you know, a target of my curiosity, in the sense that if I hang out with this guy or girl enough, I would probably, it will help me improve my English, for example. Similarly, if someone was good at computer, I never touched computer until my first year. So then I hanged out with them, so that I can learn things. So that has helped a lot. And I think the final thing is, I had a fantastic colleagues in all my companies. A final thing is, I'm very honest and transparent person,
Okay.
which people find it hard to accept initially, but once they enough good amount of time, then they realize that that's my nature. So I have, less number of friends, but all of them are really good friends. So it's not about having a large pool of supporters. It's about just few people who know that you are a good human, trustworthy and honest, and you invest into your relationship. And that's happening even at MIDCAI also. All the partners now, we have added some new partners as well. They have been my ex-colleagues. We have not really been good friends, just ex-colleagues, and we may have worked here and there, but then, the relationship was built, and then the synergy is mashed. And the final thing that I would add in that direction is that you must be willing to give people benefit of doubt all the time. So if someone was asking me back in the day that, you know, how do you like approach your conversation with people? So my answer to them was that I start with benefit of doubt unless the person in front of me proves it otherwise,
Okay.
right? Trust them, believe them, just go along unless they do something to prove it otherwise, and that's when you can change your mind. That approach has helped me tremendously, I think.
All right. So although like we have plenty of things that we can discuss here, Adil, but we are short on time. So just 1 or 2 minutes, maybe in 1 minute you can answer one question that is again related to your journey, your life. So what you think, like what one part of your journey that no one ever asked about, but has shaped everything you have built so far? So in a very short manner, how, like, can you please tell us about that moment or that part of your journey?
Um, Honestly, I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
because I'm pretty much an open book and I share everything that has happened. But
Okay.
one thing, I wouldn't say it's part of the journey, but I would call it that, there is always few years in everyone's life where they give it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like that becomes like the only holy grail for them to chase.
Uh-huh.
That moment has not yet come in my life.
Okay.
So I've been waiting for that moment, and hopefully MIDCAI could be that where you know I just give it all that I have. Like people when they prepare for entrance exams, they just go after it, or when they are preparing for their GRE, GMAT, something like they just
Mhm.
give it all. That has not happened to me yet in my life. So I'm waiting for that to happen. Let's see what that is gonna be. I know this is not an exact answer to your question, but other than that, I'm pretty much an open book.
Okay. I love the way you answered everything so honestly, and it was really a very good discussion. And I hope you also enjoyed the discussion. So thank you so much, Anil,
Yeah,
for joining this podcast.
absolutely. It's been a pleasure, Ramit. Thank you for having me again, and I hope this message goes out, and if there are anything further that you need from me, or even for that matter anyone at MidCai team, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.